Welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about XLDB provided by the Xooa platform. Xooa is the easiest way to set up, test, run, and monitor blockchain apps, and XLDB is a fantastic jumping off point for your blockchain journey. In this presentation, I'll be discussing what XLDB is, the types of XLDB, and the ways to write into the blockchain ledger using XLDB. For a quick overview of what XLDB is and how to use it, check out the docs located on the Xooa website. So what is XLDB? XLDB stands for Xooa Ledger Database. It is the simplest and most static way to utilize blockchains, and it allows developers and business users to utilize this technology as if it were a typical database. No knowledge of smart contracts is necessary for this step. So XLDB consists of two databases, a mutable database that's known as the world state, and an immutable database that consists of the transaction history and is referred to as the ledger. This ledger is append only and is cryptographically protected against tampering, so the data within it cannot be modified. Only the world state can. In order to use XLDB, you can use the Xooa console, an API gateway, or one of the integrations on the Xooa platform. To use the blockchain ledger, log into the console where your XLDB will have been created for you. To write to the ledger, you can use either the interactive UI or the API Explorer. If appending the blockchain through the UI avenue, an API token is not required. To invoke functions directly from the UI, access the world state, select Add, and select Use Sample in order to populate the key and values fields. Then select Save to save data into the blockchain ledger. After following these steps, you will have officially added data to your blockchain ledger. Now, using the API Explorer approach, we can invoke the functions from the API documentation. For this, we'll need the API token from the identity step mentioned earlier, which you will paste into the API Explorer. This will grant you access to write data directly to the XLDB. Now I'll take you through a demonstration of the XLDB in order to help you better understand the platform. Hopefully any confusing points or questions will be much clearer following this demo. On this page, we have the Xooa dashboard. This page includes the XLDB, asset management, and smart contracts. A bit lower is our list of integrations, which include QuickBooks, Zapier, and Dropbox. Now let me show you how to write data to the XLDB. First, I'm going to select the XLDB card. To write a simple key value pair, click on the Add button. Here, I'll write the details. Then I click the Save button. The data is now saved to the blockchain with a unique transaction ID, shown in green here. The details of the transactions and auditing logs are shown below. Because world state is a mutable ledger, we can modify the world state, though the underlying transaction history cannot be changed. With this change here, this value has been updated on the world state, as you can see here. We can also save a complex JSON. If I click the Use Sample button, this field will be populated with sample data. I then click the Save button, and the data is saved to the blockchain ledger. As you can see here. In the Transactions tab, all transactions, including the earlier update, were added to the transaction history. This is our immutable history of transactions. Now I'll use the API Explorer approach from the API tab. If we scroll down to the API Explorer field, you'll see that we need an API token. This can be generated from the Identities tab. Selecting Identity, inputting the requested information, giving the proper permissions, creating the token, copying the token, returning to the API tab, pasting the token into this area here, and authorizing the token. I now have proper permissions to use these XLDB functions. To post data, select Post Create and press Try It Out. Click Execute at the bottom. And here's the response. This is the unique transaction ID. And outside of create, you also have other functions. You have update, patch, get, history, query, and delete as well. If you return back to transactions, you can see that the ledger has been updated with the new information just posted. If I select the API section and check the Monitoring tab, we can see the history of the API calls made to the ledger. We can view by date and see the list of API calls. Writing data to the XLDB is also possible from the API Explorer. To write data to the ledger from the API tab, we'll need a previously used API token. If you happen to have forgotten it or copied something else, you can regenerate the token from the Identities page. So copy it, go to the API, select Explore API, and paste the token in this field. On the Create page, you can add key value pairs to the XLDB world state by using the Create Endpoint command. Looking at the samples code, you'll see the key value, which will be right here. Select Try. You'll see that this key value has been added to the XLDB and that there is a transaction ID that accompanies it. The next call in your arsenal is create/update. If the key does not exist for this endpoint, we can add a new key or update the previously generated key value. Select Try. And here's the response, with the response code of 200. Next option is Update, which will update a key with a new value in the state database and will append a transaction to the transaction database. Here are the parameters, and now select Try. This is all the response. The next option is patch. This call will patch a key with a new value in the state database and will append a transaction to the transaction database. Select try. And here is the result. Next, we have the get call. This call will fetch the keys of a single key or multiple keys. Select try, and here's the response. Next, we have history. This endpoint will fetch the history of changes to the requested key, including deletions. These are all the parameters. Now select try. And here is the history of all the operations we have performed on the specified key. Now we have query. This endpoint is used to fetch key value pairs that match a certain criteria. Select try. For this key, you'll see the value, cost, make, owner, etc., which is information requested to be fetched. Finally, we have delete. With this, we can delete a key. Here you can see that the key has been deleted successfully. And with that, you've now seen all of the functions at your disposal on the Xooa API endpoints. Have a fantastic day.